for Molo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the chance to contribute to the Referendum Bill number 2 of the National Assembly, Bill number 14. From the onset, Mr. Speaker, I was trying to find out what wisdom is, and learned that it entails cognitive knowledge, understanding, insightful, reflective thought, and integration of one's views with those of others. Studies, Mr. Speaker, have shown that there is a direct relationship between wisdom and age. And that's why from the onset, because I don't have a chance to do this in the morning, I would like to commend and to condole the family of the late Honorable Haji, the late Honorable Oyoka, and the late Honorable Nyachae. These are talents, these are banks of information that we as the young people of this country will miss, and hopefully will get to understand, respect, learn, and tap from this knowledge gap so that when we become of that age in future, it's an information that we can share with the generations that are going to be behind us, Mr. Speaker. The Bill of Rights, Mr. Speaker, provides that there is a freedom to choose. And this coming referendum, Mr. Speaker, gives that and assures us of that freedom. There's going to be a chance to either oppose or propose the constitutional amendments being brought up by this popular initiative of BBI. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the bill before us is rightfully before Parliament, because now Parliament will provide for that platform where people can come out and say clearly whether they are for or against the popular initiative in terms of the constitutional amendment through this BBI. Mr. Speaker, I must commend the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee for taking the initiative to reform and develop our referendum legal framework. And if this House passes this, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that will go to a long way to affirm the will of the people of Kenya. One Thomas Jefferson, Mr. Speaker, a diplomat, one of the founding fathers of the US, said that the will of the people is the only legitimate foundation of any government. And therefore, that government must safeguard the expression of that will of the people. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, this referendum bill is a clear expression that this Parliament, that the Republic of Kenya is willing to respect and to have people express their will through the referendum. Mr. Speaker, the bill seeks to establish procedures for the conduct of the referendum, including providing for referendum committees and establishing a level playing field for the referendum. This bill will achieve the balance for providing an equal funding and limiting a reasonable manner for the public good, and this will consequently afford the Kenyan people an equal opportunity to make their decision based on the information that has been provided. Mr. Speaker, our elections have been said to be a reserve of those that have resources. It is said that if you want to run for any political office, you need to have particular kinds of money, you need to have a particular kinds of budget. And this provision, therefore, Mr. Speaker, by this, providing funding for this different views, shows that it's going to provide an equal opportunity to whether those propagating for the passing of the referendum or against it, to have an equal chance to show their case to the Kenyan people and have the Kenyan people express their will. Mr. Speaker, any law must be simple, it must be transparent, and must take into account the special needs of persons with disabilities and other persons with special needs. And Mr. Speaker, the requirements of this canon law, of it being simple and transparent, and taking care of the needs of people with disabilities has been taken care of by this referendum bill, and that is why, Mr. Speaker, I'm standing to propose and to agree with the referendum bill. Mr. Speaker, the Elections Act, passed in 2011, has been the legal framework to govern the conduct of elections as well as referenda. Under the Elections Act, the provisions that address on the conduct of referendum are primarily enshrined in Part 4 of the Elections Act from Section 49 to 55B of the Elections Act. The provisions, Mr. Speaker, of this Elections Act have been considered to be grossly inadequate to address all manners regarding the conduct of referenda. From my reading of the report, I understand that the committee has been in consultation with the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission on what the Commission thinks about our current law and how this referendum should be conducted. Mr. Speaker, the laws of the land of any country should be consistent. And the bill, therefore, removes this conflict and potential inconsistency with other laws. For example, a referendum can only be initiated through an act of parliament. And this can cause the creation of any law to initiate an amendment. The committee made this observation and recommends that if the bill passes, it should be the forum under which any referendum to amend the Constitution should be conducted. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution provides through Elections Act, Section 52A, read together with Section 51, that you could have a referendum that have multiple questions. But Mr. Speaker, either a person supports this referendum, however, Mr. Speaker, puts this in black and white. In that Kenyan who goes to vote for this referendum either agrees or disagrees with the proposed amendments in the referendum. So it removes all the gray areas and makes it a black and white initiative. It is either a yes or a no. And that makes it clear. Considering that the clamor, Mr. Speaker, of amending this Constitution through the BBI initiative and then in future, I hold the considered view that this initiative by the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee is laudable. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, the remarks made by the Honorable Kimani about what he had worked on and what now we have been brought here. Earlier today, when I was doing my research on this bill, when I went to the table office, I was asked, which referendum bill are you referring to? Are you referring to the one for CIOC, or are you referring to the one by JLAC? And that really, Mr. Speaker, although has been remedied by the joint, remedied by the joint report that you have shared with us now, really paints Parliament in a different way. And we wish that in the future, that any member of this House that comes up with any amendment, with any bill, through the private members' bill, is accorded an equal chance to have that bill become law, without having to go begging other people or to go to beg other authorities for that bill, Mr. Speaker, to be given priority. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I fully support this bill and urge this Honourable House to do the same. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well spoken, member for Molo, Honourable Kimani.